X. Solving quadratics. Let's start with the easy one. X minus 7 equals 0. What is X? You can add 7 to both sides. Very good. So 7 is currently being minused away from X. So you can do the opposite. So you could add 7 to both sides of the equals. Because it's an equal sign, it's like balancing the equals. So when you are minusing a 7 and adding a 7, it cancels out, and you're left with 7 on the other side. Any questions? No? There's a special law. It's called the null factor law. So you can see it says A times B equals 0. So if we're solving for A and B, for example, and they're multiplying by themselves and they're equal to 0, one of them has to be 0. Does this make sense? Because if we're multiplying two numbers, one of them has to be 0. This one, we've got x squared minus 3x equals 0. So the first step, we want to factorize, okay? So what's the common factor on the left side of the equals in the chat? What's the common factor? Yep, figured it out. So the common factor is x, so we bring that outside the brackets. X squared divided by x is x. X squared divided by x is x, yep. And then negative 3x divided by x is negative 3. And that's all equal to 0. And now that we've factorized, can you see that we've split it into two numbers or two factors? This x here, this is our A value. And this x minus 3 here, this is our B value. So we've got x, which is A, times x minus 3, which is B. A is equal to 0, or B is equal to 0. X. So on this one, x is already isolated. So we don't need to do anything with that. And then what do we do for this one, for the B value? Yet we need to add 3 to both sides. Okay? So can you see how I've solved for x using the null factor law? So I factorized, so I made it two factors or two numbers, A and a B. A and a B. So they're being multiplied. That's what the invisible sign next to the brackets is, an invisible multiply. And then I solved, so I wrote them separately because one of them has to be equal to 0. And then I solved, so I isolated x by itself. Okay, check to see if we were right. So this is called evaluating the reasonableness of your solution, evaluating what you got. So if we put 0 in, 0 squared, take 3 times 0. Yep, that's 0 equals 0. So that works. If we check 3 squared, take 3 times 3 equals 0. We've got 9, take 9, yep. So our solution is reasonable. Confused? I'm going to do it all again. So we've got to use the AC method. So what's AC for this one? 6, positive 6, and B is negative 5. So what's two numbers that multiply to get positive 6 and add to get negative 5? Times negative 2 is positive 6, and negative 3 plus negative 2 is negative 5. So we're going to split it up in the middle. We've got negative 3x. Actually, I'm going to do negative 2x first. Does anyone know why I put the negative 2x first? 3 and 6 have a common factor. That's why I put the negative 2 first. So now if we factorize the first bit, x squared minus 2 both have x, and negative 3x plus 6 both have negative 3. So we're left with x take 2, x take 3 equal to 0. So that's what we've been doing the last couple of weeks, factorizing quadratics. Alright, and now we use the null factor law. So a times b equals to 0, so a is equal to 0, or b is equal to 0. So this could be our a. I'll change colors. If this is our a, we're going to make a equal to 0. So I've made a equal to 0 because there's a multiply here, just like there. Now I'm going to make my b equal to 0. So if this is the b, this is the b, I'm going to make that b equal to 0. So that was step 2, make the brackets equal to 0. I have made the brackets equal to 0. Now I need to do this. I need to isolate x. So what's the first one going to be equal to? X equals 2 because I'm adding 2 to both sides. And what about this one? Adding 3 to both sides. So x equals 2 or x equals 3. And now I'm going to do a check. So let's check x equals 2. We've got 4, take 5 times 2 plus 6. 4, take 10, negative 6 plus 6, 0 equals 0. So the positive 2 works. Now let's substitute. So I'm substituting into this first thing. So let's see if the x equals 3 works. So that also works.